So I'll read her bio, and then from there, Seisha, you can take it away. So and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Sache D. Primeaux-Shaw is a native of Northeast Oklahoma City. She obtained her bachelor's in political science and history from Oklahoma City University and earned her master's in public administration from the University of Central Oklahoma. She is a proud member of the Ponca Tribe of Oklahoma and is a Seminole and Chickasaw Freedmen descendant. She is also active with her community as an organizer and mentor, as well as a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She has been a historian and genealogist since 2008 and has helped many people find their roots through Roots Reclaimed Genealogy. And if y'all take a look in the chat, I've linked her website there, so y'all can go and check it out. Seisha, I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to present to us this evening. And I'm sure we're in for a treat. So thank you again. And the floor is yours.
You are now the host, Seisha. And you have to unmute yourself as well.
Is she frozen?
She might be frozen for a second. Maybe when she comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was frozen. I'm gonna have to switch it to my phone. I apologize, you all. It's my internet.
Yeah, no problem. We are all familiar with technical difficulties.
Oh my God. Yeah, it would have to happen today though. Okay, hold on a second.
And while we're waiting for Seisha to make that change, I hope people are aware of the good news coming out of the Creek Nation today.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, you know, a couple of weeks ago, they won their case, their lawsuit. The Supreme Court of the Muskogee Creek Nation ruled that Creek freedmen are indeed citizens. And then, of course, the tribe responded by saying, well, they were going to appeal or ask the court to rehear the case again. Today, the Supreme Court said, we will not rehear it. Our decision stands. So they are, you know, they are truly citizens of the nation. And now, hopefully, citizenship cards can be mailed. And I think we have Seisha back. Welcome back, Seisha.
Yes. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I just needed to turn the Wi-Fi on and off. But good evening, everybody. As Wendy had stated earlier, and thank you so much for the invitation and for allowing me to talk about my projects, if you will, because it's one project amongst a bigger scope of projects. But yeah, my name is Sache Primeaux-Shaw. I'm from Oklahoma City. I was born and raised here. I'm a second generation OKC native, but seventh generation Oklahoman, if you will. And that includes when it was Indian territory and Oklahoma territory. I just wanted to make that distinction because we didn't become a state until 1907. But yeah, so I love this state, but I also detest its history. But that history is the history of my family, pretty much. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, because you know, some folks can say, oh, my dad's from New York or my mom's from Texas or whatever. Like, I can't say that. All my people are from Oklahoma. So, you know, as much as I guess I should say I don't enjoy the politics of the state and some of the social climate, at the same time, like, this state is, you know, me and it's my family history. And so I say all that to say, you know, this project is really a labor of love, especially the Faces of Freedmen part of it, which to me is a very major part of the and the project I'm referring to is the Oklahoma People's History Project. But anyway, I'll get into that after, you know, I do my presentation on the faces of freedmen. But that's the larger project, which is a direct result of the assault on education and history that has been happening this past 6 years. I mean, it's been happening throughout history since I can't even say since the Civil War, but you know, like we've had things kept from us from a long time, you know, and right now, since there's certain people in leadership, they don't want that type of information to be widely distributed. So anyway, that project's also a result of that. But back to a little bit about my background. I am only 37 years old. Some people think that I'm in my 20s. I am not. I haven't been 20 for a long time. But yes, I am 37 years old. I was raised by the late great Lena Shaw, who was the Bruner band chief of the Seminole Nation, and James Shaw, who was a native of Boley, Oklahoma. And my parents, they were teenagers when I was born. So when I say I was raised by my grandparents, like I was nurtured by my grandparents because my parents, you know, they were like my brother and sister growing up. So, and then, you know, in Black and Indigenous families, that dynamic is there. So, I was raised by my grandparents, and I say that to say that's the reason why I was so interested in history, because my grandfather had been our community historian for so long, because I live in the community of Garden Oaks here in Northeast Oklahoma City, and it was one of the 4 original Black neighborhoods that was created in order to created for soldiers and families of soldiers that were coming back from World War II. And then also it was, you know, these neighborhoods were created to keep us from going too far up, you know, northwest, right? Across the train tracks over there off Lincoln. And so, well, Santa Fe. And so, yeah, so my family's been here for 3 generations in this community alone. And like I said, it was created for families like mine. So Black families, when I say that. And so, yeah, I've been here my entire life. And, you know, my big, I guess, jump into history and genealogy as far as like wanting to do this long term and like, you know, eat, sleeping, and drinking it, you know, was when I was an undergrad and I had gone through a really bad breakup. And I remember it because like it was a family reunion that my grandfather was invited to. It was the May family reunion. And this was my side of the family that was from Alabama. And so they were straight from Alabama to Oklahoma. And so my grandfather, you know, dragged me to that, and he said, "Hey, you need to meet your people and all that." I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then, like, you know, at this point, I blocked my ex and everything. So, like, I got in the car, went with him downtown, and I met all these folks from the Bowler side of the family as well, which was from Boley, Oklahoma. I mean, well, they're from Boley too. Well, the Mays and the Bowlers were in Boley because they were if you will, state Negroes, you know, which that term, some of y'all on the call know what that term means, but it basically means formerly enslaved people from the United States. Yeah. So did I do right on it? Okay, there we go. So, but anyway, I said all that to say, you know, like that side of my family, you know, were from the South. They weren't, you know, freedmen of the 5 tribes. So I went to that reunion. I met all these folks, and this was the side of my family that was not Seminole, because I was used to the Seminole, my Black Seminole side, Seminole Freedmen side. I was used to them. But this side was my side that was from the South that, you know, bypassed Oklahoma, went to California, but would visit, you know, they would come back to Boley, they would come back to Earlsboro and them areas where, you know, they had congregated. And, you know, they were telling me history about this other side of me. So then at that moment, I realized, dang, like I need to learn more about my other quote unquote Black side, you know, aside from Boley, because Boley, you know, like I grew up going to Boley, but I grew up going to Seminole Nation as well and Ponca Nation. So it's like I knew my native side, I knew my freedman side, but I didn't know my black side, you know, like past Oklahoma. So anyway, that's when I really got deeply interested in it, because I've been interested in history my entire life, but genealogy, this was when I said, you know what, this is something I could do for a career, maybe, like, I could work at the museum. And so I did an internship at the OHS, Oklahoma Historical Society. And even though it was a very short one under Bruce Fisher, it was very insightful because, I noticed there were certain displays they didn't want to have up there for a long period of time, i.e. the Lord Nelson display,
Oh, yeah.
and so, it was just one of those things where I said, "Ugh, I could never work at a place like this." But then, as I've gotten older, I said, people like me need to be in spaces like that. And so yeah, like I built up the, I guess, the zest for wanting to learn more about both sides of my family because I thought I knew about my mother's side of the family, but my mother was an adoptee of her aunt and uncle on her mom's side, her maternal side, because my grandmother, my bio grandmother, passed away in childbirth. So my uncle and aunt adopted my mother. And so in Ponca way, anyway, like that would have been her parents because it would have been her little mom and little dad.
Gotcha.
It's a long explanation, but basically, because of this way, I have a lot of grandkids already. And he said it is. They call me Gaha, so it's Granny and Ponca. But anyway, so I wanted to learn more about her bio side. Like I knew about her maternal bio side because that was Papa's side anyway. And when I was doing that research, I said, oh well, I got to put this as step grandparent, whatever on Ancestry, the way they have it set up. But basically, I was able to find my bio grandfather's kids. And I did that through taking the Ancestry DNA test.
Oh,
And the thing is, my granny told me, that, oh, this was your grandpa's name, blase, blase. But she didn't tell me like accurate details. Like she said his name was Kaya Thomas, but it was actually Hezekiah Thomas. And he was from Montgomery, Alabama. She told me he was from Texas. And that wasn't correct either. And I said, Granny, like, no, like this is not, you're like sending me on a wild goose chase. But anyway, so long story short, I was able to find those relatives and they were able to give me so much information about not only him, but like, my great grands. And it was just a really cool thing to do because I never thought of myself as an adoptee of an adoptee of an adoptee because that's really the situation on my mother's side of the family. Because even in Ponca way, my ancestor that came here that was like first recorded, I thought up till about a few weeks ago, and I kid y'all not, I didn't even tell Angela about this. It's like but yeah, it's a long story. But it's my primo ancestor. It turns out we were adopted by Lone Chief, more than likely. So my first bio-documented ancestor is actually Silas Primeaux, who came on the Trail of Tears in 1877. So, well, 1878. So anyway, he's technically an adoptee, right? So then I find out Joe Fireshaker is not really a fire shaker. He's actually a Knows the Country. His dad's name was Knows the Country. So then I found out he's an adoptee. And then my mom's an adoptee. So it's like, okay.
wow.
So it's just a whole like legacy of that, but like in Ponca way and in Indian way, and really in Black way too. Like we take our people in, regardless.
Yeah.
Like you don't ask if that's your real brother or your real sister or whatever. That's your kin, like, and so you were raised together as brother and sister. So
Yeah.
Hey, Seisha,
yes, ma'am.
one of the issues with being the host is you have to like let people in. Do you see people waiting in the waiting room?
Oh no. Okay, yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was the host already.
That's how. So you'll be able to share your screen. When you finish, you can send it back to either myself or Wendy.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm about to share my screen right quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to give that background just so you all know like how
That's
I've been
interesting.
doing this seriously, and then also, there's like a reason for everything. And I just feel like I needed to get into this type of history, this type of study, because nobody else in my family really, I wouldn't say care, but like they have a lot going on, you know? So it's like my dad would do some genealogy with me some days, and then he'd be like, oh, you know, well, I got to do this for work. And like months later, you know, like he's like, hey, did you find that out about Red Hunt? Well, me, you could have been helping me. But yeah, so but anyway, transitioning into my Faces of Freedmen project. Okay, so that project actually came out of just discussions about the fact that folks use the freedmen descendants in our issue as a talking point, and they don't really like they don't know our history, and they don't know the history of our people, like individual freedmen, you know. And I'm not talking about descendants, but freed
Right.
people who live like a Stick Ross, like a Buck Culver Franklin, like an Abraham, you know, which, you know, I'm a little bit iffy, you know, with calling him a freedman, because
That's right.
Abraham was not a freedman. He was a
No,
black
he's right. He's
warrior, you
just
know,
straight
who
Seminole. Yeah, straight
was
Seminole. Yeah.
free. You know, when he hit the Florida soil, he was free. When
That's
he got
right.
to the Indian Territory with the Seminoles, and he was
That's,
free. When
that's
he
right.
came to Brunertown, he was free. When he died in Turkey Creek. So
He was a
I-
free man,
he
but
was
not
a
a
free
freedman.
man.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
as were so many other Black Seminoles. So, and my late grandmother used to say, you know, be careful with calling us freedmen, because our people were not freedmen. They were not slaves, you know, when they were with the Seminole Nation. She said they went to the Seminole Nation to escape bondage. And so, you know, I always have to keep that in mind. So, yeah, I'm real careful with that. But I'm gonna go ahead and share a little bit of what I was doing. So with the Faces of Freedmen project, like what it basically is photos of freedmen descendants with their dolls record behind them. And it's a really cool concept, because I didn't really think about doing it this way, because I was just gonna have like a regular, you know, clean cut exhibit, like with the dolls record and then like a frame picture. Oh, it'd be so nice. But then I'm like, man, jazz it up, make it like digital. So like, you know, I went and did that, and this is what I came up with.
Okay. Okay, you're starting to share.
Yeah, I'm about to share here in a bit.
Okay, great.
What in the world? See, I'm supposed to be a millennial, but I'm not. Like what? Okay. I got it up now. So here's what I'm going to do.
Okay, we can't see anything yet.
Okay, yeah, I'm about to do it. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Wait, no. Oh, there it is. Okay. Share screen option. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, it is. Okay. This is Canva, so okay, can y'all see it?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
You have to select when you see those thumbnails of whatever you have open, then you select it, and then you go down to the bottom right-hand corner, and it'll say there's a share button, a second share button. It should probably be.
Oh. Oh, okay. My bad. Dang it. Okay.
Yeah, there it is. It's slowly coming up.
Okay.
Okay, we
All right.
see your desktop. And we see a few faces.
You see the full screen?
Yes, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 images.
And it says Faces of Freedmen.
In the middle, that is correct.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the cover photo for the project, and all of those freedmen ancestors, not all of them are freed men, freed people per se. Some of them are, but then some of them are descendants. For instance, I have America Cohey on here. She was a freedman descendant. And then Willie Stargell, who's actually
I
my
was gonna
relative.
say, yeah, that's Willie
Yeah.
Stargell. He's a descendant.
Yeah, he's a descendant of Tecumseh
Pittsburgh
Brewer.
Pirates, yes.
And then Sarah Rector, who was a descendant as well.
She
which
was a
most
Creek freedman. She was a freedman. She's on the roll.
She's on the road. Yes. She was on the road. I don't know why I thought she was born much later, but she was on the road.
That's why she got
So,
land. That's why everybody was after her property. She got land.
yes. Sarah Rector was a freedman. The Cudjoe twins, they were descendants. So
They're descendants, right?
it's a Whitty Cudjoe and King Cudjoe and Ned Cudjoe. So yeah, it's a mix of descendants and freedmen, but I felt like this would be a way to tell like a full scope of the story of their stories, especially when you don't have photos of the actual freedmen descendants. And and that's another reason why I wanted to use descendants, because for example, with the Cudjoes, I couldn't find a photo of Ned or King, you know. And so I said, well, it'd be cool to still display that line of Cudjoe, right? And I could have used like, one of their great grands, which I, found a photo of one of them, but everyone knows who the Cudjoe twins are for the most part in Oklahoma.
Everyone in Seminole circles. I assure you, Choctaw
Seminole.
freedmen have no idea. Cherokee freedmen have no idea.
They were pretty active in the Oklahoma education system.
Right.
So people knew them through sports as well. And
Right.
they would know Cudjoes through that, but like through the Seminole connection, not so much. They wouldn't know that unless you were from Seminole, so but yeah, and they were Harlem Globetrotters too.
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of my out-of-state friends knew they were.
But a lot of people don't know some of the Globetrotters from the 60s or 70s, so they've kind of missed it. So yeah. Are you
okay. Yeah, I'm going to the next part. Okay, so this is some examples of the exhibit. Right here is Miss Sally Walton, who is Miss Angela's grandmother.
My great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother. And as you see, it's just an example of the concept with the freedman ancestor and then the card. And then during the exhibit, folks would look at the card and they would ask questions like, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? And then I would have like a copy of the card without the picture so they can actually look at what all of that meant, right? Because I mean, folks look at these cards and they don't know what they're looking at. They're
true.
like, what is like, there's like, well, why do they have this here? Or why is this here? I'm like, because it's a census. I mean, it's like the 1900 census. Only difference is like, we're in a tribal nation and, it has our information on here. And like, you have to like read it as you're reading like, a census record, but it's going to show, who you were the slave of, versus like on a regular census, 1900 census is not going to have nothing like that, and folks don't understand that. And like I had to show this lady that her on the back of her card, because her ancestor was actually one of the Cudjoes as well, but it was Ned Cudjoe. And I showed her that census record and she looked at it and she said, well, why does it have that he wasn't the slave of anybody? I said, well, because Black Seminoles, for the most part, we weren't his slaves.
Just a few. Most
like,
were arriving as free people. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's just an example of one of the cards. This next one is my grandmother, Miss Lena Shaw, former Bruner band chief of the Seminole Nation. She served first with Lawrence Cudjoe, and then later on with Loretta Guest for many years, most of my life anyway. And this is what our ancestors' Seminole card looked like.
What is her name on that card, and which one would she have been?
Tina Smith. Now that Lincoln Smith was the daughter of Abraham. And
Okay.
Ponca.
Oh, okay. So your grandmother is the granddaughter of Abraham?
Yes.
Okay, not
Second great granddaughter.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Cool.
so this is what our card looked like. But I wanted to show a difference in this card and some of the other cards. So my
Yes.
ancestor Tina was living in the Chickasaw Nation, but she still signed up on the Seminole roll. And folks, and then I'm just saying, like, when some folks are saying things like, oh, well, my people, they didn't get on the roll because they moved. Look at this. She moved. So anyway, but then also that goes to show that, oh, sorry, this thing keep popping up. This goes to show that people were moving, but folks were intermarrying too. Like my other ancestor, her husband, Noah Smith, who died before the final rolls were done, he signed up on the Chickasaw roll. And he was he was approved, but then he was stricken out because he passed. But I mean yeah. So that was a thing as well.
And had a lot to do with parentage as well. Okay, on this card, these people were residing in Chickasaw Nation, but they were Seminoles. You see, there was a band. They were part of the Bruner Band, which is a Seminole band. And your folks on the Chickasaw who were put on the Chickasaw roll because either they or their parents were Chickasaw. So
yeah, Noah's mother. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and they were in Wynnewood. Noah and Tina and all of them, they're all buried in Wynnewood. So yeah. And then this next one is the Cudjoe twins. And that's Whitty Cudjoe. And they were in Miccosukee.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting because not saying that a lot of freedmen descendants didn't live in that area, but it wasn't the area we really frequented. I'm just,
There is an image also of Whitty Cudjoe. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Okay.
I didn't know if it was verified or not.
No, it is an image of Whitty Cudjoe.
Okay.
Caitlin. In fact, it's in the book. It's in the book. There's an image of okay.
Oh, yeah, and then I was trying to get through this before we lost time. But yeah, and then these are just other images of freedmen descendants that I'll be using in the project. There's probably some that y'all recognize, like Buck Colbert Franklin right there, and then
who are the gentlemen to the
Horace
left? Is he a Colbert? Who's the man on the left? On the bottom left.
Yeah, he's a Colbert too. His name was Bill Colbert.
That's what I thought. Okay, I was thinking that was who it was, but I wasn't sure. And the one on the right?
On the right, he is a his first name escapes my mind, but he is a Van.
Oh, okay.
Cherokee Freedman. Yeah.
Very good.
And then Morris Shepherd is up in the top.
Oh, that's Morris Shepherd. Okay, yeah, I've seen
top
it.
Right. And then Miss Burris is over here.
That's Delia. Is that Delia Burris?
Delia Burris. Yep.
Yeah, I thought so.
And so, and then here's more that I'll be spotlighting. And all 5 of these folks have interesting stories, but the 2 that I'll touch on that not crack me up. The one in the top right cracks me up, but the one in the bottom left is really sad. But the one in the bottom left, I'll start with him because it's sad. This guy, he is a Bruner. His name was, I think he went by FD Bruner, and he was an educator at the Miccosukee School. And he lived in Oklahoma City, and in today's day and age, he would be considered, the well-to-do, polished, Rico Suave, whatever. So he got in trouble with the husband of a woman he was dating. I know that sounds bad, but that's what the
Ooh,
paper article said. And so in the Black Dispatch, our boy Roscoe,
Roscoe Dungy. Okay.
yeah, he had the details. But so he was shot and killed by this man. But
Oh,
he was like highly regarded. Like,
hmm.
I mean, all the articles about him, and then also he's buried in the same cemetery as Caesar Brunner.
Okay.
So, and I found his story just by accident, just by looking through Find a Grave. But then I went to the Black Dispatch and then I found him again on accident. I was like, oh my goodness. Like
Mm.
this is
Wow.
how he died, because I noticed he died at 31 and you know. So anyway, he's going to be in the exhibit though, because his ancestors were also Tecumseh Bruner, and
Mhm.
and I just think his story is important. Now the ladies at the top right
They
hand
are.
corner, they are what Hannah Love, I believe that was her mother, um
Okay. Yeah.
sister. So Ian told me this story. He said a group of Chickasaws, including them, these two, went over to Liberia during, I guess, what was his
Mhm.
name?
It
Prophet
wasn't
Sam
Marcus
or something?
Garvey. It was somebody
It,
else.
it was like Prophet Sam or
Yeah, and
something.
he was a crooked guy.
He was. He
Yeah.
was. And Ian told me they went over to Liberia with everybody else. They didn't like it, so then they came back.
Yeah.
And the
Actually, it
lady,
was very difficult for them because they were promised certain things that did not materialize.
right, right. But the
Yeah.
way Ian told the story was just funny. He said they came right on back to the Chickasaw Nation.
There's an elder in the family who also has a picture because you can tell that's a passport stamp on that image.
Yes, it is.
And
Yes.
there's another image, I think, of an older woman who's part of that family and was part of that same trip, because Terry has some information about that family as well.
Yes,
And
he does.
mhm.
They're going to be in his upcoming book, he
I
said.
think their mother was probably on the Trail of Tears, I believe. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, Hannah Love. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's who
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let me
Interesting.
move on. Okay, and this is how you can contact me. Through my website and then through Facebook and then also through Instagram. But you can check out OK People's History Project on Facebook, but then also I have a website for that as well.
Okay, very good. There's no email address here, Seisha. If they want to reach out to you, email, what would that be?
Okay, so my email I can put in
In the chat? Great.
chat. Yeah.
Okay, and that's good. Is there anyone else in the waiting room, or do you want to pass the? Oh, okay, she did put her chat there. Okay, that's great. I have a question for you, Seisha. Are you planning to expand the project or to have different components, maybe descendants as a component, actual freedmen as a component, maybe a target, 50 of each or 100 freedmen faces or something? Have you thought about expanding? What are your thoughts about that?
Yes. So my next phase, which I was telling Rhonda about this actually a few weeks ago, is I want to have the exhibit with, faces of freedmen, like the actual freedmen, but then the descendants would be the next, would be like the component, like the, sister exhibit, because I think that I believe I can find as many as 200,
Oh,
or
easily,
maybe
easily.
more than that,
I think if you just put out the word, because people are becoming aware just because of the recent developments coming out of the Creek Nation, people are like, well,
Mhm.
my people are Freeman, my people are Choctaw, my people are Creek, my people are Cherokee, my people are Chickasaw. People are becoming more aware now. And I
Yeah, they
think
are.
if you promote your project, it could be a fabulous project. You may want to have you considered collaborating with others? Let's say if you collaborated with the Choctaw Chickasaw Freedmen Association, work could be put out to that community hey, you want to have your ancestors as part of this project.
Right.
You could easily have almost 100 per tribe. You could have a 500 face exhibit. Of course, you want to control it so it won't get out of hand, but you could have a wonderful thing. And I would encourage you to consider making a picture book to accompany the exhibit.
See, I've thought about that too.
That would be wonderful. And you know what? You could do it rather painlessly with something like Shutterfly. There are programs out there that could help you put something together very nicely. And people, if their ancestors are in the book, they're going to buy it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can put your price. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Seisha, your exhibit is currently on display right now, right? So how long is it?
So yes. Okay, so so my exhibit, it's a traveling exhibit, of course, because I don't have a museum yet. But the Rhonda Grayson and the Creek Freedmen descendants, they so graciously allowed me to have my first exhibit showing at their museum, and I definitely will be back. And the next exhibit will be, I'm trying to get the date up, will be at the Ralph Ellison Library on August 20th.
Okay.
Will that be a
I'm
one
going
day,
up.
1 week? How long will it be there?
It'll be on that Saturday, but then after that, I will be setting up either at the IAO, which is the arts, not Arts Institute, but it's like an art space downtown, or I'll probably be in the Paseo.
I would encourage you to also consider in Muskogee the Five Tribes Museum, maybe for February.
Yes, I did contact them. I reached out to them in the Seminole Nation Museum, and I will be, we're talking about doing it in February at the Seminole Nation Museum.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Caitlin,
Okay.
who works there. Yeah, and then the guy who's the ED, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But
And how
But,
about
yeah.
the Five Tribes Museum in Muskogee?
Okay, so I got in contact with them, and we'll be talking again, hopefully tomorrow or Friday, because I'll be in and out on Thursday. Well, not Thursday. Yeah, Thursday is tomorrow. Ooh, my days all mixed up. So I'll be able to talk to them hopefully tomorrow, but definitely Friday.
Beautiful.
So
That's
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I got the ball rolling.
All the best.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm going to see if anyone else has any other questions. Does anyone have any questions for Seisha?
I have a statement. I don't have a question. This is Phyllis. And I'm a genealogist, but I'm on here because I'm trying to begin to do my Native American ancestors. So while people talk, I look at surnames on my DNA list. I always do that. I came up with 2 Kojos in a family tree. And
Okay.
it's a John Kojo, born 1810 in Florida, and he died 18th of December 1901 in Seminole, Oklahoma. And then there's a Rose Kojo, and she was born in 1925, Florida. I believe they're husband and wife, maybe. Don't take that. I'm just doing some quick work. And she died in 1911, Oklahoma. So I do know I have Native American ancestry, but I just haven't, I'm getting to the place now where I'm just trying to go through my DNA, trying to sort things out. But I've got a whole lot going on in Oklahoma. So, but I just thought this was interesting that I just, grab the 2. So I'll do some more research and kind of see where it leads.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, that John Cudjoe, so he was the patriarch of that line, like a big, like that was a big line of Cudjoe.
Wow.
I know exactly who that ancestor is.
Really?
I thought you would, Seisha. I thought you would.
Yeah. And the DNA, I don't know, for you guys that don't know DNA, it's unassigned. So it means I don't know which side it's on. It could be most of the time when it's unassigned, I notice I have them on both sides. And I mentioned you talked about, marrying. So I'll dig deeper and see, and then I'll get back with you, but I'll see where I'm at with that.
So that wasn't the John Cudjoe that was just memorialized, right?
No. This one, the one that was memorialized, he was the younger one. This was the older one.
Okay.
And
like, yeah.
Yeah, and what I might do, and I don't want to take up all your time, I'll probably reach out to the two people that I'm DNA related to. Yeah, because I wouldn't put their names out. I don't do that on, on the screen, but I'll probably reach out to the two people. Awesome, thank you.
You're
Wonderful,
welcome.
Phyllis. That's great.
Oops, yeah.
But yeah, it's always good to connect with those folks. Hey, Dr. Eric.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
Hi. I remember some years ago you went to Georgia to do some research, and I think you were related to some hunts there.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Hi. And where did you go in Georgia?
So I I was going to Atlanta to visit my baby brother, but then we went out to Macon County, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing some research on Red Hunt, his name was William Hunt, who was the son of Charles Hunt and an unidentified white woman. And I'm saying it like that because we thought his mother was this lady named Hager Sims, and it wasn't. It was he was born to this woman and Charles was a former slave, and he was born after the war. He was born in 1881. But you know, back then it didn't matter. It's like yeah. So the baby was the Charles took the baby, and then the baby was raised by his mother until he got remarried and then to Hager, and then they moved to Oklahoma. But then his son, I think his second son by Hager, had appendicitis, and then he tried to do meatball surgery on the side of the road for him.
Whoa.
He died. Yeah, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
he buried him on the side of the road. So my uncle Claude is buried on the side of the road. But anywho, yeah, so that's the hunt line I was researching. And it's a very colorful line. I'll say that, especially William Red Hunt. And they called him Red because he was very fair skinned with red hair and green eyes. So, like, they called him Red. But his children, his son Horace Shaw, that was my no, not Horace Shaw. Think about my Shaw side. Hunt. Dewey Hunt. Horace Shaw was my second great grandfather, my great dad's side. But Dewey Hunt was his son, who was the uncle of Willie Stargell, because his baby sister was his mother, Gladys Hunt Russell, who moved to California after the rest of the family settled in Oklahoma. So but yeah, that hunt line, they're all up and down Macon. They're in I think they come from Wake Forest, North Carolina, but of course they're originally from Ireland, at least the slave owner side is. But then you have the hunts that, are Black folks in Georgia, and it's a big group. And they're all my cousins.
All right. So do you know
Atlanta.
the book by what is her name? Elizabeth Logan Alexander on the hunts in Sparta, Georgia. And they are intermarried with my family, that hunt family. But I also want to ask you about this, because in Sparta, a number of people went to Liberia. I assume the two sisters who went to Liberia and returned went from the South rather than from Oklahoma. How did they go over?
So they were Chickasaw Freedmen, and they were in the Chickasaw Nation, and then I guess they went, I don't know how they were able to get over
They
there.
probably departed out of Galveston. They would go to the nearest port.
Galveston, yeah.
Okay, all right.
There were some movements out of Galveston Harbor, and some, in fact, got caught up in a very, very tragic hurricane, and some died before they got too far, off the coast. So, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's name was like Prophet Sam or something.
Yeah, he was a crooked guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a part of that Garvey. It wasn't a part of the Garvey.
No, it's the Garvey era, the movement.
Yeah, it was influenced by it. And People lost out on land, and yeah, like people put up their land to go over there just to come back. And yeah, he wasn't a popular guy.
There is a community outside of Bowling, you know, the town IXL.
Mm-hmm.
Many people who left out of Oklahoma gathered. There's sort of an open prairie in IXL where people gathered, and then I don't know if they took a wagon train or whatever to Galveston or got on a train, probably a train, taking
Mm-hmm.
Texas to get down to Galveston Harbor.
Hmm. Some of them died over there, some of the people, and I had a great two or three times great grandmother who it was hinted went there and died. And I think a
Mm.
number of them died of malaria shortly after
Oh, yeah.
getting there.
I
Miss
believe it.
Betty, can you tilt your screen so we can see your
Okay, sorry, I came on late. I guess I feel a
We
little
saw the top
embarrassed
of your
about that.
face. We didn't see.
Okay.
So
There you
my
are.
grandpa,
Lovely, lovely.
my grandpa Shaw, he cannot stand the Garvey movement and that Sam guy. He would know his name because I remember one day I was all I was doing was reading this article, and I thought it was interesting about the roots, Marcus Garveyism and all that. And I was like, "Hey, Daddy, like, did you see this?" I was like, "When I go to New York, I'm gonna go see if I can find the monument to Marcus Garvey." He was like, "Dad, I hate Garvey. He took all that money from the people in Bali and IXL," and then he just went off. And I was like, you know, like I said, I didn't know that movement was here anyway, but also, dang,
Yeah.
did you felt that way about Garvey? But a lot of folks in his generation who grew up during that time, like, or heard the stories, they don't like Garvey either. So,
Well,
or
you
they
know, he was a very
Sam.
interesting person, a very complicated character because Marcus Garvey also had a letter writing relationship with Walter Plecker. And if you've ever heard of the name Walter Plecker, people who research Virginia and the Carolinas are more than familiar with him. This is a gentleman, he was an arch segregationist. He was also like, whatever you call the chancery clerk or something. He was a head registrar and a clerk over many places in Virginia.
I thought it was
And he's
vital
a
statistics.
person, he was a segregationist, white places for white people and black places for black people. And Garvey was like, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Black places for black people. And the fact that he had this sort of odd friendship with Walter Plecker makes many people kind of raise their eyebrows. I see Miss Ann says, yeah, Plecker was evil. Understand something else too. Garvey was not from the US. He's Jamaican. He was an immigrant. So he came in with a different mindset and didn't even understand sort of a Black American mindset. And it's very, very interesting. And also, a lot of his things did not turn out well. I think he had a boat and what was it, Black Star Lines, but the boat was not really sound. It wasn't that good for sailing. I don't even know if it made a complete voyage. There were some voyages that did go, but I don't think his Black Star Lines did well. And he kind of died penniless and went back to Jamaica. But it's unfortunate. Now he did say certain things that got people instilled in some aspects of race pride. There used to be parades. I think he had helped to establish the UNIA, United Negro Improvement Association. But he was a complicated man and was not quite that successful from a financial perspective either. And it's just very, very interesting. I have a very good friend of mine. Her husband was an Americo-Liberian. She met him when she was in college at she was at the University of Arkansas, become friends with a young lady who was a Liberian student, an international student. And she said, oh, we're having a big party, the Liberian students in Chicago. You should come. She went to Chicago with her friend and ended up meeting the man who became her husband. And he was one of those Americo-Liberian families. He later became a diplomat for the Liberian government. thankfully, when the coup happened in the 1970s, when they took a lot of those leaders out to the beach and shot them, well, they were out of the country. They were not in Liberia, but she knew almost all of the people who were killed in that coup. And most of the leading families in Liberia up until that time were Americo-Liberian families, people whose ancestors had established Liberia in the 1800s. And I do remember a few years ago reading about some Liberians who were trying to come to the US and get American visas, and they were trying to do some genealogy to prove that either their parents or grandparents were American at one time. I don't even know how far that went, but it is still very, very interesting. And but back to Marcus Garvey, I don't even think he made it to Liberia, or if he did, certainly he didn't die there. He passed away back in Jamaica. But I see Lonnie says, gentleman isn't a term I'd use for pleasure. I'm sure you have colorful words to use, Lonnie.
Yes, ma'am. You're glad I drink decaf. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, very good. There, I fully understand. No misunderstanding there. So, but it is kind of interesting though. But when I found out that he had this relationship with Walter Plecker, oh, that didn't sit well with me. I'm like, what? Why? So anyway, very, very interesting. Thank you.
It's like them them Black Israelites that were friendly with them neo-Nazis. I'm like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be like, yeah,
yeah, well, they're also the ones that help contribute to some misunderstandings about, you know, the original indigenous people, et cetera, and which is unfortunate. It's like, oh my gosh. But they speak to that issue frequently and have left a lot of people very confused. It's much unfortunate.
Yeah, but yeah.
But thank you, Seisha. This has been very enlightening. I want your project to grow for sure.
Oh, Kevin raised his hand.
Oh, is there a question?
Yeah.
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation and conversation. I had a question. When you're looking at those, the photos with the background with the, I guess it was considered the census for the Freedmen
The
rolls.
Dawes card.
Yeah, for the, so there were two of them. One, when I looked over to the far right, it says owner, it said free. So those were free people. But on the other card, it showed an owner, it had a last name of Grayson, which I thought a lot of the Graysons were actually Muskogee or Creek. So I was like, could you maybe help me understand why in one case you got Seminole and it's free, and in another case it's, you know, owned by a Grayson? Was that common for Seminole?
Well, the card you were probably looking at that was Slave of Grayson, that was probably a Creek Nation card. Because I don't think there were any.
I thought it said
Seminole. Oh, it was was it Witty Cudjoe?
Cudjoe, it was a Cudjoe,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that it might have been his mother's own. I mean, because I think his mother was Creek, but
Yeah, also, yeah.
Seminoles,
And Creeks and Seminoles are really the same people originally were.
Yeah, originally.
Seminoles were at one time Creek people. They're all Muskogee. Their language is Muskogee.
Right.
So, yeah.
But in terms of the freedmen, like us, like I said earlier, we were considered Black Seminoles. My grandmother used to always say, when we came over to the territory, we weren't calling ourselves freedmen because we weren't free.
There was no word. There were no freedmen at that time.
Exactly. But we weren't enslaved by anybody. So you'll see most of the Seminole cards, they'll have that. They'll have owner and it'll be free, or slave of, it'll be free, because they weren't, you know, we were not enslaved. But that's why, because, but even on some of the cards, like you'll see slave of, and then it'll have like an owner, but it'll be like the owner of, like, I mean, it'll be their owner, but then some of them won't have an owner, but the owner would be like, I guess, their mother's owner, if that makes sense.
Oh,
There were
okay.
some enslaved, but they were not the majority. Not in
Gotcha.
some.
Right.
Seminole
Oh,
Nation was unique.
Right. Oh no, I was talking about in general. No, the
Yeah,
Seminole Nation, I've only seen, y'all, I kid you not, I've only come across, and I know there's more out there, but I've only come across the handful that had slave
yeah, yeah. You'll
most
see
of
a few, very
Seminole,
few.
most Black Seminoles, most Seminole freedmen weren't, we weren't enslaved. Abraham wasn't, Posey wasn't, Tina wasn't. She was born in 1854. She was not enslaved in the territory. So she was born in Turkey Creek. So well no, Brunertown. They moved to Turkey Creek. But anyway, yeah. But Seminole, you're not gonna see that most of the time. So
yes, thank
mhm. Are you a Seminole descendant?
you. Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay.
I'm from Texas, and my people, as far as I know, were not associated with Oklahoma.
Okay, cool. I thought I was waiting for him to be like, "Oh, my people were Brutus." I was about to be like, "Oh
I do want to,
no!"
I do want
Nah.
Hmm.
to report that he
Hi,
did.
Sasha. I have a question for you. This is
Hey, what's up?
Sasha. What or who inspired you to do this project, and why is this important to you?
So the inspiration primarily comes from continuing my grandmother's legacy and humanizing us as freedmen people, especially Black Seminoles, because when I in the past when like I would see freedmen on display, and this is not like to shade any tribe at all, but it would be mainly like Cherokee freedmen, or like freedmen that freedmen descendants that, are I guess in the limelight at the time. It was never really like the only Black Seminoles I knew of that were like being displayed like that was Abraham and John Horace. I'm just gonna keep it $1. So that's another reason why I wanted to do it. And then also to like provide um, you know, space for freedmen, ancestors, and descendants that aren't talked about enough either. Because I've learned a lot about Chickasaw and Choctaw freedmen than I ever have before doing this project, like individually, right? Like individual ancestors who are Choctaw and Chickasaw. And I am a Chickasaw freedman descendant, so it's unacceptable. I know, Miss Angela. But like I said, I grew up more Seminole and Ponca, so like I'm more, I know more about those ancestors, but yeah. So yeah, most of the inspiration comes from Miss Lena Shaw. I miss her every day, and she is really the reason that I'm doing any of this, that I finished school, that I pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, that I got interested in Ponca tribal politics, because she used to say, if you're not at the table, you gonna be on the menu, and they gonna throw you out when they done with you.
Wow.
And that's
Okay.
that. Like, you better get involved. And she used to tell me that. Like, and also I needed to know my people, because she said you don't want to marry a cousin. So there's that. And we're deep in Seminole country, and we're deep in Wynnewood, in the Chickasaw Nation in general, but especially Love County and Carter County and all them counties where, our families were deep, and, she didn't want me to be double kin or triple kin,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
that did happen a lot in Nacimiento.
oh
And
yeah,
while that's the way they kept it. But then, after a while, they had to leave Nacimiento and go find work. So they would marry, they would come back with, a Mexican lady or a Spaniard, and so everything started changing.
hmm
Thank you so much. I love what you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Good to see
And
you,
thank you for that
Karina.
question.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Karina, the your hometown came up again when I was on TikTok. And I wasn't like answering any questions, but like, you know, somebody brought up, I was like, oh, I know them. And they're like, oh, you know Muskos? Yeah, I do. And they're like, how? I'm like, they're my cousins. And they're like, oh, yeah, you are Black Seminole. So, like, you know, I mean, it was a pleasant conversation, but yeah, people are very, not so much trying to claim y'all, but like, you know, they like us Black Seminoles, they find our stories fascinating. They think we're dope and amazing. And I'm like, well, yeah, we are, you know. So, all right.
Yes, and we
Anthony?
are all related. We are all related, so
Oh, yeah, we are for sure.
So Corina, is there ever going to be an event in Nacimiento or anywhere in Mexico inviting people from the territory or from obviously with the Oklahoma ties? And I would just putting in a word for freedmen of the other 4 tribes, but those of us who have an interest in history, to gather and meet people in Nacimiento. I would just think it would be so useful and so valuable to connect. I'll just say that. And even inviting people from Brackett to come down to Nacimiento, although there is traffic back and forth, I realize that. But perhaps a formal gathering.
yes, I mean, that would be wonderful. I just established a nonprofit in Nacimiento, and you know, we established that, you know, to have our connection um with our sister city, which is Bracketville. And we have, you know, when it's a few of us, you know, working, it takes a little bit longer to do things.
It does, yeah.
We have been advancing. We've been doing a lot of things, and we would definitely love to have, you know, do something like that. And we could probably plan something for, you know, the anniversary of the Black Seminoles arriving to Coahuila. And that happened in July of 1850.
48, right? Or when was it?
July of 1850.
1850. Okay. All right.
It'll be so we can probably plan on something like that. That would be wonderful. But
That'd
you
be
know,
fantastic. Yeah.
it would be you know, helping everybody get there, and what, you know, finding out what we can do to get everybody there safe and have
Yeah.
a stay. So we can definitely plan on that.
Wow, that'd be great.
Yeah.
This is Phyllis again. I don't want to hoard this, but I've got another question. And just so you guys know, I'm from a Black Family Genealogy and History Society here in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm past president, and Angela always presented for us. So I got your name, Sache. You'll probably be hearing from me too. So anyway, but my question real quick, focusing on DNA. I've got, because I'm always asked this question about DNA and the, like, for example, the Seminoles. And how is everyone, not everyone, but are people willing to do the DNA, or is it goes back where some people don't feel comfortable, like the elders? Can you just share kind of general about DNA testing?
Who's that question directed to?
Oh, Sache.
Seisha?
Yeah,
Oh,
Seisha.
yes.
Yeah, in my experience, most of the folks I've asked to take a DNA test on my father's side, they're not apprehensive at all. Actually, they're, you know, interested for the most part. The only person I had issues with was my grandmother, and that's only because she had dementia and she didn't know what I was trying to do to her. So, you know.
And anybody else can chime in. Yeah, that's
Right.
kind of,
But
I get
yeah,
that all the
but
time.
I was gonna say, but there are some relatives though. My mother's side, they're all Poncas. They didn't want to do it. Most of them didn't, because they were saying, well, we heard the government's going to own our DNA, and we were told not to, you know, give native DNA. And
Let
some
me tell
people
you,
feel that way about,
if you've
Black
been to the
DNA.
doctor and they took a blood test, your
Exactly.
DNA is out there already.
That part. Right.
Henrietta
So
Lacks
it's a
cells are
mix.
alive and well in every medical school around the globe.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's a mix. And I know it's more younger folks aren't wanting to do it either because of that whole conspiracy
Oh,
theory. And I
really?
just think that's
Oh.
really unfortunate, but
I know the elders, because well, not only the African Americans, we have trouble with the elders sometimes. I've got a sister, and I really need her to test because we don't share the same father. You think
Oh,
I
yeah.
need her to test? No, no,
I mean,
not at
some of the
all.
hesitation might, I know some of the hesitation might be as a result of, at least at one point in time, the results can be read any number of ways. Specifically, I'm referring to, I was part of a project in California in 2010, and during the question and answer session, a professor got up and he said that at that particular point in time, DNA results can be read and interpreted 3 or 4 different ways. That leaves a lot of room for a lot of things to go any number of directions. And personally, given the history of how some of our stories have been distorted, I can understand. I'm kind of skeptical myself, to be quite honest. But then again, I'm an old guy.
Okay,
But I can understand that skepticism.
okay.
well,
Thank
I found my bio mother's side, my bio grandpa side,
Yeah.
with DNA. So I believe in it. It checks out for me. I'm 24% indigenous, and that is what I am.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Okay.
So, I'm 10% French. That checks out. I'm 57% sub-Saharan African. That checks out. Everything
Wow.
checks out for me,
Yeah, me
And
too.
then my dad's family, I'm matching to so many hunts, so many on my Seminole Freedmen side that are descendants of
Yeah.
Tina and Abraham and all them. I'm matching to them. I'm matching to so many people. On my Ponca side, I'm matching to people in Nebraska and the Dakotas.
That would make sense, though.
I know that it's, I believe in it because I wouldn't have been able to find, my Thomas side at all. And I also found out they were Jamaican as well. They had some ties to Jamaica. And they were my grandfather's side. I got some of my Ghanaian and predominantly Ghanaian and Liberian ancestry from him. And I just thought it was so interesting, that, I had all of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm grateful for it because, it made me feel better in terms of who I am, but then also I have a whole side and they're cool. They've been really receptive to me. They
Yeah.
weren't like, ooh, your mom was outside.
Yeah.
She was his first child, and I didn't know that. And then after my grandmother passed, he went on and, 3 years later he got married, to another lady and had 5 children with her. But they thought it was cool. We didn't know we had a big sister.
Yeah.
She's
I
gone
do
now.
I do adoptions, and that's what I bank on. Because if someone comes to me and asks me about that, I don't do a lot, but every now and then I'll send them straight to the DNA because it's a lot easier.
Oh,
as you
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a cousin in England. She was a high DNA match 2 years ago. I was like, who is this? And she was matching all of my paternal cousins on the Bass side, and she was matching everybody up in Michigan. So I called my cousin Renee and asked her, any of your uncles in the military? She said, oh yeah, I had 3. Find out if any of them were in England, because one of them left their DNA there, and it turns out that we were able to solve it. She said, I bet it's Uncle Bobby. Well, it was Uncle Bobby. His daughter has come over twice. They've met. They have a relationship now.
Oh, wow.
And oh yeah, she was an adoptee in England, raised by now her birth mother was originally from Jamaica, but the family that adopted her, they were Trinidadians living in London. And so she's born and raised, she's British and living in London, but her father was an American man from Michigan. So but we were able to help her, and now she's a our new cousin, and so it's worked out really well. But I've also been able to find things on my maternal side because my mother's parents died when she was before she was 2, because both of them died of tuberculosis. So my mother knew her maternal side, but never knew her paternal side. And I'm finding all of these matches now on my mom's paternal side. And even though my mother never knew them, I'm able to get to know them. So no, it's quite a useful tool. It's a good tool for sure.
Thank you all for sharing.
I think Anthony had a question?
Well, thank you, Wendy,
Good to see
and nice seeing you. I always come back around at you. Not a question as much as just to let everybody know I do what I can to keep Black history alive through a podcast that I host titled Strong Inspirations. And I'm always looking for people to interview on the show. And maybe a couple years ago, is that right? 2, 3 years ago, Wendy?
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was.
somewhere around there. I had the pleasure of interviewing her, and I've stayed in contact ever since. And it's a tremendous. And I'll put the link to the video in the chat. So if anybody wants to see the superstar of Wendy Goodloe,
Oh
you'll be able
no,
to
it
see it.
Okay.
was a fun
On
interview
my
because you
show.
asked great questions. So,
Yeah, and then I think I've tried to reach out to you, Miss Walton. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know. Let me see.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about before now.
You may have, but I don't know if I've had the honor of being on your podcast. I would love it.
Yeah. I can just tell you more. Last an hour is via Zoom. So
I
with
would love it.
3,200 subscribers.
I would love to.
I'll just a couple shameless plugs. I just released one with a guy whose great great grandfather was enslaved. He bought his freedom. He then goes out and he buys land called New Philadelphia in Illinois. The guy's
Oh,
name is Frank McWhorter.
I see.
I just released one with a lady who she was a sharecropper at the age of 10 in Mississippi.
What's the name of your podcast? How can we find it?
Strong Inspirations.
Black Strong Inspirations. I'll look
Not
for
black,
it.
just Strong Inspirations.
I will look for it, and it would be an honor to be a guest.
I'll put my email and the link to the show.
Okay, thank you so
And
much.
I enjoyed this very much. Thank you for allowing me to
Thank you.
do my shameless plug. Bye-bye.
Anyone else with questions?
Yeah, I had a quick one, slightly different topic, but along the lines of citizenship and enrollment and that sort of thing. Is there anything happening with Chickasaw Choctaw in terms of freedmen descendants? Going on?
I can address that. At the present time, there are no active lawsuits. However, there's a lot of energy going on. We've just had a letter writing campaign in our Choctaw Chickasaw Freedmen Association group on Facebook, and we've been sending letters since Chief Batten from the Choctaw Nation indicated that, oh, he didn't get a lot of letters when he wrote his open letter saying, he was considering, citizenship for Choctaw freedmen. So we've started sending a number of letters to him. However, in light of the recent decision from the Creek Nation, people have been stimulated to say, hey, wait a minute, we're still out here in La La Land and sort of in purgatory. Why don't we start applying? People are submitting applications. One gentleman who lives in LaFleur County, Oklahoma, he's already said, I intend to apply to the nation. I know I will get turned down, rejected, because he had applied once before, although he should have been actually admitted as a citizen by blood. But nevertheless, he's going to apply again. He's submitting his papers, I think, in the next several days. And he said, once I get denied, I will file suit. Now, with the Chickasaw freedmen, of course, many people say, well, they have a long, hard road to toe. They were never adopted, never given citizenship. However, there are 5 tribes. There are 4 treaties: Cherokee, Creek, Seminole, and Choctaws and Chickasaw signed one together. So should anything happen that favors the Choctaw freedmen, the Chickasaw signed the same treaty with them. And what has not been emphasized enough, and we've been emphasizing the wrong thing, oh, they never gave them citizenship, but it's not been emphasized, they signed the same treaty together. So should Choctaw freedmen gain citizenship, then, because there is a lot of movement now that's swelling daily, the Chickasaw Nation is going to have to come around, because if it's ever ruled in court that their treaty is valid, their treaty included the Chickasaws that signed the same treaty on the very same day in Fort Smith, April 28th, 1866. So right now, there's a lot of movement towards the Choctaw Freedmen, who are not only writing letters addressing Chief Batten, because he wrote an open letter to freedmen 4 years ago, saying, oh, I'm considering looking into citizenship for Choctaw freedmen, and then nothing happened. But what is interesting is there's now this swell of activity that's happening. And I think that something may be happening in the next couple of months. I do understand that Chief Batten indicated that they're going to be streamlining the citizenship process by October 1st. So come October 1st, we're all going to be on the website looking to see how streamlined it has become. But nevertheless, people are submitting applications right now and are getting ready for a lawsuit. And there may be a class action suit, because just to be able to afford retainer fees for an attorney, which can be several $1,000s. So if more people are involved, more people can contribute to that retainer fee to obtain a lawyer. So I don't know if that answers it well.
No, that's good. I appreciate the update. I was just thinking about it though. So you have the Dawes Roll, and you got these people listed there. So why are these people listed if they're not part of you? I mean, what?
Okay,
I'm just trying to think of the logic there. What's the reason people
understand
have
that
them
the Dawes Roll was not a citizenship roll per se.
Understand.
It wasn't admitting people to a citizenship. They were already citizens, but it was a land allotment eligibility list. The purpose of it was to allot lands, because prior to that, land was owned in common. Everybody owned land. My cow could go and graze in the pasture behind your house and vice versa. But it was an act to redistribute the land to the people who already owned it. In other words, oh, now we're going to teach you how to put a fence around your parcel, and then someone else has another parcel of land and they put a fence around theirs. It was to determine who would be eligible to receive land allotments. Now, if one looks to look closely with the Choctaws and Chickasaws, the other tribes treated the freedmen equally. Everybody got anywhere from 120 to 160 acres each, including the babies. In the Choctaw Nation, if you were put on the blood roll, you got 320 acres each, including the babies. If you were on the freedmen roll, you got 40 acres each, including the babies. But you got 1/8 of the amount that others on the blood roll, even though many freedmen had the so-called blood, because many had been fathered by former Indian slaveholders, but they still got 1/8 of the pie. And so people are saying, maybe it is time, because they've been sort of watching what's going on. And keep in mind, it's been over 100 years since statehood. And because of that, almost 120 years or so. And as a result, once statehood came, freedmen, or I'll just say the Black citizens in the 5 tribal nations, they had a tremendous adjustment to make. Number one, there was an influx of state people, state Negroes, as they call them, coming in from the Deep South. And in addition to the fact they were coming in from the Deep South, they were coming in with old Deep South understanding of how a Negro is supposed to keep their place. People in the territory didn't have that attitude. They weren't scared of white people, but people from Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, they kind of, yes, sir, I know where I'm supposed to go, sir. And they were like, what's wrong with these people? But what eventually happened, as they started piling into the cities, a new state was formed. What's the first state passed in the state of Oklahoma? Segregation of the races. Here are people who had been free.
Senate Bill number 1.
Senate Bill number 1. So, you could say you're a Creek as much as you want, or you're Seminoles, but that's nice, but you're still Negro. Get to the back of that bus if you're in Oklahoma City, or if you're in Tulsa, you better get to the back, or you're going to ride in the Negro car on the train. This is something new. Not for the folks from Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas. They were used to that, yes, sir. But here were these other folks, and they were like, what? Then an educational system was formed. New state, Oklahoma. Never have taught about slavery in Oklahoma because there wasn't slavery in 1907 after statehood. So as they've developed a state curriculum, they've never even taught about slavery. They never talked. Oh yeah, they'll talk about the Trail of Tears and oh, those poor Indians. Yeah, well, 4 of those 5 tribes were big time slaveholders. 4 of those 5 tribes signed treaties with the Confederates and fought for the South in the Civil War because they wanted to maintain their way of life, aka slavery. So freedmen from the 5 tribes were at a disadvantage. Suddenly, they could not go to, a neighborhood tribal school. They now had to go to the colored school. And you see letters from Spiro, Oklahoma, when, one of the educators in one of the colored schools was writing to New York City, to the Crisis magazine, that was the magazine, or still is, of the NAACP, saying, hey, we need some teachers. We don't have a Negro high school. Our children need to be able to get more than elementary education. They were now in a segregated educational system. The academies that were the traditional academies of freedmen were gone. Tuscaloosa, which was a Choctaw Freedmen Academy, had closed. Tallahassee Manual Labor School had closed. Now, it had been purchased. The building was purchased by the AME Church and lasted until like 1935 before it closed. It became like a junior college. It was called Flipper Davis College, but eventually the AME Church closed it down. Oak Hill Academy down there south of Valiant, Oklahoma, another boarding school for freedmen. It was closed. So now freedmen from these nations had to just send their children to the little Negro school, whatever the state of Oklahoma was going to give them. Eventually, there were a few Rosenwald schools that were built here and there, but now they were at a total disadvantage. They were totally erased in sort of the current memory of Oklahoma as it began to grow, except in the small communities where people were still, hey, we're Choctaws. Oh, hey, we're Seminoles. But the greater Oklahoma didn't know anything about them. It was never taught. Their history was just omitted. And that's been a challenge for the last several decades, at least even for me. It's just really, really been a challenge because as I found my ancestors and my grandfather and great-grandparents on Dawes records in 1991, that's one reason I've been writing about them ever since, because I'm like looking at other cards and other records saying, wait a minute, but I know people who are triplets. Wait a minute, I know people who are brewers. I grew up around these. I know people who are Vans. And I worked with people who had the name Cudjoe. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why is this history never taught? Why is it never spoken about? So that has been a major change. And imagine people in Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation, way down in southern Oklahoma, who are really at a disadvantage and who began to hear over the last 20 years, yeah, well, our people were Chickasaw, our people were Choctaw. Oh, well, they were freedmen. I didn't grow up hearing the word freedmen, but I always knew that my grandfather and my great-grandparents were Choctaw. I never knew they were Choctaw freedmen, but until I saw the records. And then it all clicked what happened. And after statehood, don't have to mention it, that's Indian Territory history. We're Oklahoma, and Oklahoma totally omitted putting that. And I have a copy of the Oklahoma history textbook that's used. And maybe one page mentions, of course, the migration, the forced removal. It doesn't even mention that slaves were on the trail, enslaved people were. And it mentions nothing about freedmen, what happened to people from 1866 up to statehood and even beyond. So it's been a challenge, but things are changing. People are becoming aware now. So
Yeah, thanks for clearing that up. So they got land, but no citizenship rights.
Well, it took 19 years from 1866 to 1885 before Choctaws got citizenship. The Chickasaws considered it in 1873. They actually passed a resolution. Congress never ratified it, and they were like, hey, they don't care. They don't have to do it. They never gave citizenship to their freedmen, to their former slaves, even though people had remained right where they were living all the time. That was home. So that's kind of where things are right now.
Yep.
Any other questions? Well,
Hey, it's Matt from down in Florida. I was looking at your website and I was just wondering with your project, just kind of some of the stuff that you're doing, like the services and stuff that you're providing for people on your website and stuff. If you can just talk about that for a quick second.
who are you directing that question to?
Oh, he's
Yeah, Sasha.
me.
To
Seisha.
Okay.
Sasha.
Yeah, so yeah, basically Roots Reclaimed, you're talking about Roots Reclaimed Genealogy.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just a basic research service, helping you build out your tree and doing the research, finding census records, photos, things of that nature. If you are researching native ancestry, well, native ancestors, and they are on the Dawes rolls, I can help you obtain that information, just things like that, and then helping you, learn the tricks of the trade in doing family research and genealogical research, understanding it and things like that. So
Yeah, no, I was just curious and stuff. Like I said, I just clicked on there. It came in with the email and stuff with the invite, and I was just wondering if you can touch on that a little bit. But other than that,
yeah, because I have two different websites. I was like, oh no, I hope he didn't see the okay history. What that one's not. It's not supposed to be live yet. Let me make sure it's not. Hold on. Okay, yeah, it's not.
Roots Reclaimed.
Yeah, okay. I was like, dang it, Wendy. But then that would have been my bad, because that would have meant I sent you the link and it wasn't supposed to go live yet. But
No, that was when
it'll
you
go live soon.
I was like, oh no, did I share?
Oh, no, that's the correct one. Yeah, and then also I've had genealogy happy hours. They've been virtual so far because I haven't had the time to organize one local here and then one in Tulsa, because I do plan to have one here at a coffee shop, black owned coffee shop here called Culture Coffee. And then I'll have one hopefully at the Black Bookstore up in Tulsa, owned by Onika Asamoah Season.
Fulton Street Books.
Fulton Street Books, yeah. She's originally from California, by the way, and that bookstore is named after, I believe, the street that her family lived on in California.
San Francisco, Fulton Street.
San Francisco, yeah. So so hopefully we'll have one up there, and then in different pockets of the state, and then nationally, maybe I can have like a regional meetup, maybe in DC, we can go Angela's Way, or go down south to where Wendy's at. I mean, just in Atlanta,
right.
like somewhere like that. Like, I mean, Raleigh, Durham. Like, I have connections in a lot of cities with a lot of folks, mainly
right.
relatives, but so we can always have like a genealogy meetup. It just depends on what folks want, but as of right now, it's been virtual because everybody's all over the place. And then, I'm trying to have some events happening before the election cycle really gets up and going, because by June, I pretty much need to go sit down somewhere probably. So of next year, if I'm planning to get people, out and about in this topic, because it is going to start, folks are going to start to have their attention diverted elsewhere, which I get it, because I used to be a big politico. I was heavily in politics, but now looking at it from the outside, I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of work. I'm good. So, and I didn't have enough time to do this. So,
It's great.
Yeah. So hopefully a lot more in between now and next year. And then also I wanted to mention, and just a plug and a shout out to my brother and sister, Fred and Kim, Fred Murphy, he is behind History Before Us. Him and Kimberly Knight, she's Afro-Indigenous as well. She's a Black Cherokee and I believe Hollow Saponi. They did a documentary title Duality, and it's about Black and Indigenous people in the oh, sorry, something popped up. Text message. It's about Black and Indigenous people across, not just like in Oklahoma, but there were some folks who were from the West Coast and East Coast that participated, mainly East Coast, because they're both based in North Carolina. But they did that documentary, and I'm featured in it, as well as Rhonda and Melanie Fish. I don't know if some of you are familiar with her, but she's also a Creek Freedman descendant, but she's a Creek citizen. And so I just wanted to put that plug in there that documentary is being shown. Right now, I think they're having another showing in Atlanta, but they did have it a big showing at the Afro-Indigenous powwow, gathering that they had down in Atlanta. So, which there were quite a few, because some folks have their opinions about anything that's Afro-Indigenous, because we do have an influx of people that are spreading around a pseudo narrative. But that event had quite a few folks I know from the powwow world. And I said, you know what? This was truly, authentically Afro-Indigenous. Because like they were like, what, and I'm not saying they're like any better than anybody, but these were like folks who were like legitimately Afro-Indigenous, right? And then of course Freedmen descendants were there, and it looked like a fun time. I wish I could have gone, but I didn't have no Atlanta money at the time. So, I had bills to pay. But
you respond.
AJ, are you thinking about coming to the East Coast?
I am, man. I've been trying to make my way to DC because DC is my focal point. If I'm coming to the East Coast, I'll come to DC first, and then I'm gonna get a rental. Then I'm gonna drive to New York City. You know how I do, and then or I'll either drive down.
I saw you for a minute the last time you ran off. I'm like, is there something I said? I mean,
No, no. I just haven't been up there. Like the farthest north I've been was probably Philly. I mean, not Philly, Baltimore. But I did fly up to Philly for the Eagles game when they played the Steelers back in 2023. So, I mean, I was in Philly for that. But
Wow.
DC, like I do plan to come back to DC and then make my way up. You know how I do, drive up to Providence, Rhode Island, but I make my stops, in Shinnecock country and then, New York City. So
are you hip to the Urban Indigenous Collective? Are you hip to the Urban Indigenous Collective here in the city?
Yes, that's with Shanae and Sutton King.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I am, yeah, and I need to touch base with her too with that group.
Where are they based? What city is that?
They're based out of New York, but they do a lot of things all up and down the East Coast. And I'm getting kind of emotional. I'm very proud of these youngins. I go to many things, and our young people are on it. Since you covered Oklahoma, we're proud there. But here in the city, organizations like the Urban Indigenous Collective, they're taking us into the future, and they're doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah,
and I'll leave it at that because you're glad I do drink decaf most of the time. So.
Yeah, it's a good group of folks in that group as well. I know Sutton. I've been knowing her. Like I met her before in person at the powwow. That
now, who is this person? Is this Karen?
She's from. I believe her people are originally from Michigan because I think her mother is
okay.
Oh, is it Oneida? I can't remember the tribe, but I know they're not from New York originally.
Some of you may or may not know this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but some of you may or may not know this. Her aunt was an activist that was killed in Colombia. Somebody I knew personally, Ingrid Washana-Watok, was a Anishinaabe. And to know that Sutton is her niece, it really hits me close to home because Ingrid was an incredible human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's Anishinaabe.
Wow.
But yeah, they're doing some good stuff up there. Like, I mean, we have like a similar group here, but it's not it's, you know, we got a lot of factions here. You know how it is. And I
Why
don't,
should you be any different than anybody else, sis?
it's, you
Oh,
know,
Lord.
I don't pick sides. I tell people I'm just here for the history. Like I'm not here to, you know, all the dramatics. I'm like, we all nerds. Why are we beefing? This is so weird. But anyway. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We've been over, it's going on like
Oh,
8:30.
an hour and a half. I'll stop the tape.
I know, yeah. I was like, dang, it's almost 9 o'clock.
You
Well, 10
know,
o'clock
Stop
y'all
this is what
time.
happens, you know, when there's a great conversation happening, you know, it just kind of flows.
Oh, yeah.
But Seisha, do you want to put your contact info, or does everybody have her contact